Environment-wise use of wetlands at COP15. News. Member countries of the Ramsar Convention have adopted India's resolution on promoting sustainable lifestyles for the wise use of wetlands at Ramsar's COP15 in Zimbabwe. The resolution aligns with Mission Life, an India-led global environmental movement launched at COP26 in 2021. About wise use of wetlands. Core principle: the wise use of wetlands is the central concept for wetland conservation under the Ramsar Convention. Definition: it is defined as maintaining the ecological character of wetlands through ecosystem-based approaches within the framework of sustainable development. Obligations of contracting parties: promote wise use through national plans, legislation, management actions, and public awareness initiatives. India's approach to wise use of wetlands. The National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems, NPCA, guides wetland protection. Integrated Management Plans, IMPs, define strategies for sustainable wetland use. 2024 Implementation Framework. India released Wetland Wise Use and Implementation Framework to strengthen conservation efforts. Citizen participation. Mission Subhajita Save programs like and the Wetlands Campaign engaged over 2 million volunteers, mapping more than 170,000 wetlands. Key outcomes of COP15 initiative. Description: Victoria Falls Declaration recognizes the ecological, social, and economic importance of wetlands, their role in biodiversity, climate change mitigation, and contribution to UN SDGs. Indo-Burma Ramsar Regional Initiative IBRI, Strategic Plan 2025 to 2030 to halt and reverse wetland loss in Cambodia, Lao People's Democratic Republic, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. Bridge Program and Freshwater Challenge. Grants promoting gender mainstreaming, women's leadership, and improved implementation of the Ramsar Convention Global Waterbird Estimates Partnership, GWP. Integrates data sources, strengthens monitoring capacity, and supports conservation agreements to combat global waterbird decline and wetland degradation. 76 Quarterly Compilation. About Ramsar Convention and India. It is an international treaty for the conservation and wise use of wetlands. It is named after the Iranian city of Ramsar, on the Caspian Sea, where the treaty was signed on February 2, 1971. India ratified the convention on February 1, 1982. India has 93 Ramsar sites, 1.36 million hectares, which is the largest network in Asia and third largest globally. Green Credit Program, GCP. News. The Environment Ministry notified a new methodology for tree plantation credits under the Green Credit Program, GCP. About Green Credit Program, GCP. It is an innovative, market-based mechanism designed to incentivize voluntary environmental actions across various sectors by stakeholders such as individuals, communities, private sector industries, and companies. Launch. November 2023 at COP28 in Dubai. Prime launched in by the Minister of India. Governance. The GCP's governance is overseen by an interministerial steering committee. Administration. The Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, ICFRE, serves as the GCP administrator, responsible for program implementation, management, monitoring, and operation. Legal basis. The Green Credit Rules were notified by the government of October 12, 2023. Environment Protection Act, 1986. India on under the major changes in rules. Award timeline. Current provision. Credits are awarded only after 5 years. Earlier provision. Credits could be awarded within 2 years. Canopy density criterion. Current provision. Minimum canopy density of 40% required. Earlier provision. Benchmark was 1,100 trees per hectare. Calculation method. Current provision. Credits are calculated based on vegetation status, change in canopy density, and the number of surviving trees. Earlier provision. Credits were based on meeting the per hectare planting density benchmark. Unit of credit definition. Current provision. 1 green credit awarded for each new tree older than 5 years. Earlier provision did not specify that 1 green credit is awarded per tree older than 5 years. Verification and evaluation. Current provision. Credits issued after evaluation and verification by designated agencies. Earlier provision. Not explicitly specified. Credit tradability and transfer. Current provision. Credits are non-tradable and non-transferable, except for transfer between a holding company and its subsidiaries. Earlier provision. Market-based trading on a platform was allowed. ICJ delivers landmark decision on tackling climate change. News. In a historic move, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, issued an advisory opinion declaring that countries can be held legally responsible for their role in driving climate change. Background: the case was initiated by Vanuatu, a Pacific island nation, to protect vulnerable small island developing states, SIDS. Over 130 countries supported Vanuatu's call. 2023, UN General Assembly and requested the ICJ to provide an opinion on states' obligations under international law to protect the environment. Legal consequences of failing to meet these obligations. Key highlights of the ICJ ruling: climate action as a human rights duty. The ICJ recognized that a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is a fundamental human right. States are obligated under international instruments, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to take meaningful action against climate change. States obliged to limit emissions. Countries must prevent harm from greenhouse gas, GHG, emissions. States are expected to comply with the Paris Agreement goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Currently, global temperatures have already risen by 1.3 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times. Consequences of noncompliance. States that fail to meet their obligations may be legally held accountable, be required to cease wrongful actions. Guarantees provide offer full reparation where applicable. While some countries, including the US and Russia, oppose court-mandated emission reductions, the ICJ opinion adds both legal and moral pressure to act. Role of developed nations. Developed countries, particularly Annex I nations under UNFCCC, are expected to lead in reducing emissions and support other countries in their climate efforts. The ICJ emphasized that protecting the climate is integral to fulfilling international human rights obligations. International Court of Justice, ICJ. Established, 1945, as the United Nations principal judicial organ. Headquarters, Peace Palace, The Hague, Netherlands. Functions. Resolves disputes between sovereign states. Issues advisory opinions on legal questions referred by other UN organs. Can only hear cases when a state formally requests it. Composition. 9-year terms. UN General. 15 judges elected for by the Assembly and Security Council. Judges act independently and do not represent their governments. Relevance. Called the World Court, the ICJ is the sole international tribunal that settles disputes among 193 UN member states. United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries, LLDC-3. News. The Third United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries, LLDC-3, opened on August 5, 2025 in Awaza, Turkmenistan. About United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries, LLDC-3. This high-level event is convened once every 10 years to address the specific challenges faced by 32 landlocked developing nations. The conference brought together world leaders, international policymakers, and key stakeholders to chart a path for sustainable growth and integration of LLDCs into the global economy. Theme of LLDC-3. Driving progress through partnerships. Objectives. The conference aims to coordinate international efforts to overcome structural and geographical challenges faced by LLDCs. It seeks to improve trade and infrastructure connectivity, particularly for nations without direct access to seaports. A major focus is on promoting smarter investment frameworks and flexible transport corridors that enhance the movement of goods and services across regions. It addresses disproportionate barriers to economic diversification, resilience, and infrastructure development that LLDCs face. Significance. LLDC-3 serves as a crucial platform for the global community to reaffirm its commitment to inclusive and sustainable development for landlocked nations. The 32 LLDCs collectively represent over 600 million people but face unique development challenges due to their lack of direct access to maritime trade routes. By uniting political will, technical expertise, and financial resources, the conference sets a roadmap for enhancing connectivity, resilience, and prosperity for LLDCs through 2034. New rules for contaminated site management notified. News. The Union Environment Ministry has notified the Environment Protection, Management of Contaminated Sites Rules. 2025 for remediation of contaminated sites by those responsible for contamination. About Environment Protection, Rules for Management of Contaminated Sites, 2025. Nodal Agency. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC, Legal Foundation, established under the Environment Protection Act, 1986. Aim. To prevent environmental damage, mandate cleanup, and hold polluters accountable. The rules create the country's first dedicated legal framework for identifying, remediating, and monitoring contaminated sites that pose serious risks to human health and ecosystems. Contaminated sites are locations where hazardous waste has been dumped in the past, leading to soil and water pollution and creating risks for human health and the environment. Key highlights of the rules: identification and reporting. District administrations are required to submit half-yearly reports highlighting suspected contaminated sites. These reports are forwarded to the State Pollution Control Board, SPCB, or a designated reference body for further action. Assessment and site survey. The concerned authority must conduct a preliminary assessment within 90 days to evaluate the possibility of contamination. If contamination is suspected, a detailed site investigation must follow within the next 90 days. Specifically checking for the 189 hazardous chemicals listed under the Hazardous and Other Wastes Management and Transboundary Movement Rules, 2016. Sites confirmed as contaminated must be publicly declared, and restrictions on access imposed. Remediation Planning and Accountability. A scientific expert body/reference organization will prepare a remediation plan tailored to the site. The SBCB is also required to identify the polluter within 90 days of confirmation. Cost recovery and liability. Responsibility for remediation lies with the polluter, who must bear all costs of cleanup. If the polluter is untraceable or unable to pay, the central and state governments will share the costs under a prescribed arrangement. In cases where contamination results in loss of life or major environmental damage, criminal liability will be enforced under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, 2023. Exclusions. These rules do not apply to contamination arising from radioactive waste, regulated under the Atomic Energy Act, mining-related pollution, marine oil spills, municipal solid waste dumps, covered under separate laws, secondary pollutants. News. A Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, Korea, study found that secondary pollutants, especially ammonium sulfate, are major contributors to PM 2.5 pollution in India. About secondary pollutants. Secondary pollutants are air pollutants that are not emitted directly from a source, such as vehicles or factories, but are formed in the atmosphere through chemical reactions involving primary pollutants and other atmospheric components like sunlight, oxygen, and water vapor. Their formation often makes them harder to control, as they can arise from various combinations of precursors and environmental conditions. Examples of secondary pollutants: tropospheric ozone, O3, sulfuric acid and nitric acid, components of acid rain, peroxyacetyl nitrate, PAN, particulate matter, PM, photochemical smog. Key findings. Korea study. According to a study by the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, Korea, secondary pollutants, particularly ammonium sulfate, are responsible for nearly one-third of India's fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, pollution. Ammonium sulfate is formed from the reaction between sulfur dioxide, SO2, and ammonia, NH3, in the atmosphere. 60% of SO2 emissions in India coal-fired thermal more than come from power plants, making them the main driver of ammonium sulfate formation. This makes coal-based power plants a critical target for reducing secondary PM 2.5 pollution through the adoption of flue gas desulfurization (FGD) systems. A DETI scheme. News: Union Minister for Power and Housing and Urban Affairs launches ADETI scheme to accelerate industrial energy efficiency in India. About ADETI scheme. Full name: Assistance in Deploying Energy-Efficient Technologies in Industries and Establishments, ADETI. It is an initiative to provide financial and technical support to micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, in adopting energy-efficient technologies, and is also a decisive step towards India's low-carbon economy. Nodal Ministry: Ministry of Power. Implementing Agency: Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BE. Duration: FY 2025-26 to FY 2027-28, 3 years. Budgetary outlay: 1,000 Indian rupees crore. Key features: Eligibility: MSMEs with IDM ID, demonstrating 10% energy savings through adopted technologies. Financial support: Interest subvention, 5% micro and small, 3% medium, on loans for energy-efficient technologies. Excludes large corporations to focus on smaller enterprises. Technical assistance: energy audits, DPR preparation, technology identification, monitoring and verification. Target sectors: 14 energy-intensive sectors including brass, bricks, ceramics, chemicals, fishery, food processing, forging, foundry, glass, leather, paper, pharma, steel re-rolling, and textiles. National Designated Authority, NDA. News: The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC, has constituted a 21-member National Designated Authority, NDA, to operationalize India's carbon market. About National Designated Authority, NDA. Establishment: Created by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC, as a mandatory provision under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, 2015. Context: Article 6 provides the framework for international carbon markets and emissions trading mechanisms. Purpose: a carbon emissions trading system carbon to operationalize and develop markets in India. Composition: 21 members in total. Chairperson, Secretary, MOEFCC. Members include representatives from MEA, Ministry of Renewable Energy, NITI Aayog, Steel Ministry, and others. Maximum representation comes from the Environment Ministry. Roles and functions: Grant host country authorization for mitigation activities and internationally transferred mitigation outcomes, ITMOs. Represent India in Article 6 negotiations and enable credit transfers with other countries. Approve and recommend projects for Article 6.4 registration with the UN supervisory body. Bilateral and multilateral cooperation, Article 6.2. Facilitate under-align with the Domestic Carbon Credit Trading Scheme, CCDS, to integrate voluntary and compliance markets. Global comparison: EU Emissions Trading System, ETS, China's ETS comparable to the end 2021, but designed for India's developmental context. Voluntary participation hard-to-abate sectors focuses initially on and like steel and cement. Differs from the Clean Development Mechanism, CDM, by enabling economy-wide approaches instead of just project-based mechanisms. Global Outlook Council on Water Investments, GOCWI. News: The President of South Africa has unveiled the launch of the Global Outlook Council on Water Investments, GOCWI. About Global Outlook Council on Water Investments, GOCWI. It was launched as a G20 Presidential Legacy Initiative. It serves as a key component of the Global Water Partnerships, GWP, Global Transformation Agenda on Water Investments. It is an intergovernmental organization and multi-stakeholder network committed to the equitable, sustainable, and efficient management of water resources. Transformation Agenda. GWP's agenda seeks to mobilize $15 billion for global water security by 2030, driving large-scale investment in the sector. Role of GOCWI. The Council acts as a high-level platform to maintain political and financial momentum for water investments across the world, fostering coordinated action and sustainable solutions. CPCB Report on River Pollution News. The CPCB's latest assessment indicates a slight decline in the number of polluted river stretches across India. Monitoring process. CPCB evaluates river health in 2-year cycles, giving special attention to biological oxygen demand, BOD, as a principal indicator. BOD measures the oxygen consumed by bacteria and other microorganisms while breaking down organic matter under aerobic, oxygen present, conditions at a set temperature. Criteria for identifying polluted river stretches, PRS. River stretches where BOD levels exceed 3 milligrams per liter, failing to meet the primary water quality standard for outdoor bathing, are designated as polluted stretches or locations, PRS. These stretches are further classified into 5 priority classes, I to V, based on the maximum observed BOD level. Priority Class V, BOD 3.1 to 6 mg/L, least polluted, requires minimal intervention. Priority Class 1, BOD greater than 30 milligrams per liter, most polluted, requires urgent attention. BOD less than 3 milligrams per liter, generally considered safe for bathing. Key findings, 2023. 296 polluted river stretches, PRS, 271 a total of were recorded across rivers, compared to 311 PRS across 279 rivers in 2022. Maharashtra, 54, had the highest number of polluted stretches, followed by Kerala, 31. Priority I 45 in 2022 to 37, and the number of stretches decreased from 2023. Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and Uttarakhand had the most stretches classified under Priority I, initiatives contributing to the reduction in river pollution in India. Legislative and policy measures. Implementation of laws such as the Water, Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, 1974. National missions and flagship programs. Efforts under the National Mission for Clean Ganga, NMCG, and National River Conservation Plan, NRCP. Community and participatory initiatives. Programs like Swachh Bharat Mission promoting citizen engagement. Infrastructure development. Construction of sewage treatment plants, STPs, and common effluent treatment plants, SEPs. Smog-eating technology. News. The Delhi government has announced a feasibility study to test photocatalytic coatings on roads, pavements, and public spaces in order to achieve noticeable improvements in air quality. About smog-eating technology. It is a photocatalytic process that reduces air pollutants by applying special coatings, primarily titanium dioxide, TO2, to surfaces like roads, pavements, and buildings. Working mechanism. Photocatalysis. TO2 acts as a catalyst when exposed to sunlight or UV light. Pollutant conversion. Harmful gases such as nitrogen dioxide, NO2, and volatile organic compounds, VOCs, are converted into less harmful substances like nitrates, carbon dioxide, and water. This creates a self-cleaning effect, breaking down pollutants on contact. Objective. Reduce NO2 and harmful hydrocarbons in public spaces. Improve air and water quality in urban environments. Applications. Roads and pavements. Photocatalytic asphalt. Building surfaces. Public spaces where air quality improvement is critical. Flash floods and cloudbursts. News. A cloudburst led to flash floods in the high-altitude villages of Uttarkashi, killing 4 people, leaving at least 60 people missing. About flash floods and cloudbursts. Flash floods. A flash flood occurs when a large volume of water rushes into an area over a very short period, often within minutes or hours of intense rainfall. In some cases, flash floods are triggered by sudden dam breaches or obstructions in rivers giving way. Features. Unlike regular floods that rise gradually, flash floods strike swiftly and with great force. Water levels can rise in under 30 minutes, leaving little time for evacuation and catching people off guard. Common causes: intense rainfall over a short duration. Steep slopes that rapidly channel water downhill. Urban drainage systems that prevent water absorption. Dry or hardened ground, especially after droughts or wildfires. Sudden release of blocked water or dam breaches. Past examples. India, 2013. Uttarakhand disaster. Flash floods triggered by melting glaciers and torrential rains caused thousands of deaths or missing persons. Spain, 2018. Majorca. Streets turned into rivers within an hour, killing more than a dozen people. Germany, 2021. Heavy rains overwhelmed rivers and reservoirs, washing away entire villages. Cloudbursts. A cloudburst is an extreme rainfall event over a very short duration, usually affecting a small area, less than 20 to 25 kilometers. According to the India Meteorological Department, IMD, a cloudburst is defined as rainfall exceeding 100 millimeters per hour over a limited region. Common in mountainous areas like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Jammu and Kashmir. Caused by orographic lift, where moist air rises rapidly due to terrain, cools, and releases massive rainfall. Relation between flash floods and cloudbursts. Cloudbursts can trigger flash floods, especially in hilly terrain. Cloudburst flash flood A refers to the rainfall event itself, while refers to the sudden overflow of water that results. One can occur without the other. New disaster management tech platforms. News. The government of India launched 3 key initiatives to strengthen disaster preparedness and response. About new tech platforms. Integrated Control Room for Emergency Response, ICRER, a disaster-resilient, state-of-the-art facility for real-time monitoring and decision-making. Uses NDEM 5.0, National Database for Emergency Management, developed by ISRO/NRSC. Integrates data from forecasting agencies via APIs to support relief, rescue, damage assessment, and disaster risk analysis. Operates 24/7, coordinating with states and central agencies. NDEM Lite 2.0 mobile app. Lightweight mobile version of NDEM for field-level disaster management officials. Provides real-time alerts and operational support for relief and rescue activities. Assam Flood Hazard Zonation Atlas. Developed by Assam State Disaster Management Authority, ASDMA, and NRSC. Helps in flood mitigation, controlling development in floodplains, crop insurance planning, and constructing flood relief/rescue centers. Accessible nationwide via NDEM 5.0 Geoportal or ICRER platform. Environmental Accounting on Forest 2025. News. Recently, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation released the 8th issue of Environmental Accounting on Forest 2025 about Environmental Accounting on Forest 2025. It is the first dedicated publication on forest accounting, based upon the UN System of Environmental Economic Accounts, SDA, framework. UN System of Environmental Economic Accounts, SEA, framework, developed by United Nations, European Commission, and Food and Agriculture Organization in 2012. Purpose. Provides an international standard that integrates economic and environmental data, helping assess both the environment's contribution to the economy and the economy's impact on the environment. Adoption in India. First adopted by MOSBI in 2018. Key findings of the Forest Accounting Report. Physical Asset Account. Forest cover, 2010 to 11 to 2021 to 22. India's forest area grew by 17,444.61 square km, 2.4%, 7.15 lakh square km, 21.76% of the country's reaching, which is geographical area. Top states in gains: Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. Extent account: forest extent, 2013 to 2023 net increase of 3,356 square km due to reclassification and boundary adjustments. Top states in recorded forest area: RFA Uttarakhand, Odisha, Jharkhand. Condition account: ecosystem quality, growing stock focuses on especially volume of usable wood in living trees. Growing stock, 2013 to 23 increased by 305.53 million cubic meters, 7.32%. Top contributors: Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Telangana. Service accounts. Provisioning services, timber and non-timber products value reached 0.16% of GDP in 2021 to 22. Top states: Maharashtra, Gujarat, Kerala. Regulating services, carbon retention value rose to 2.63% of GDP in 2021 to 22. Top states: Arunachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Assam. Sundarbans set to become India's second-largest tiger reserve. News: the National Board for Wildlife, NBWL, led by the Union Environment Minister, has approved West Bengal's plan to expand the Sundarbans Tiger Reserve (STR). This expansion will add 1,044 square kilometers, making STR the second largest tiger reserve in India after Andhra Pradesh's Nagarjuna Sagar, Srisailam Tiger Reserve. Procedure for declaring or modifying a tiger reserve. Tiger reserves are declared by the respective state governments under Section 38(v) of the Wildlife Protection Act, 1972, based on the advice of the National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA. Steps for notification include: the state government submits a proposal. The NTCA grants in principle approval and requests a detailed proposal under Section 38(v) of the Wildlife Protection Act, 1972. After thorough review, the NTCA forwards its recommendation to the state government. The state government formally notifies the area as a tiger reserve. Process for altering a tiger reserve. According to Section 38(w)(1) of the Wildlife Protection Act, 1972, the boundaries of a tiger reserve can only be changed on the recommendation of the NTCA and with the approval of the National Board for Wildlife, NBWL. Such proposals are also initiated by the state government. Sundarbans Tiger Reserve (STR) overview location, situated in the coastal districts of West Bengal. Distinctive feature: the only mangrove ecosystem in the world that supports a substantial tiger population. Year of establishment: 1973, under Project Tiger. UNESCO recognition: National Park area designated as a World Heritage Site and forms part of the Sundarbans Biosphere Reserve. Ecological significance: acts as a natural buffer against cyclones, provides habitat for endangered species, and hosts rich mangrove biodiversity. Geographical boundaries: East, international boundary with Bangladesh, Haranbanga, Raymangal and Kalani River South, Bay of Bengal West, River Matla Northwest, rivers Bidya and Gomdi. New Ramsar sites marked by the news. Recently, 2 wetlands in Bihar, Gokul Jalashaya, Buxar, and Udaipur Jheel, West Champaran, have been designated as Ramsar sites. Gokul Jalashaya. Location: Buxar, Bihar. Type: Oxbow Lake on the southern edge of the Ganga River. Significance: flood pulses of the Ganga influence land use, exposing marshes and agricultural areas in dry months and increasing inundation post-monsoon, acts as a buffer during floods. Fauna: over 50 bird species. Pre-monsoon marshes provide feeding and breeding habitats. Udaipur geolocation: West Champaran, Bihar. Type: Oxbow Lake, bordered by Udaipur Wildlife Sanctuary forests. Flora: over 280 plant species, including the endemic Alysocarpus roxburghianus. Fauna: important wintering site for 35 migratory bird species, including the vulnerable common pochard, Aethia farina. Corporate average fuel efficiency, CAFE norms. News: India has proposed major changes to its vehicle emissions rules under the corporate average fuel efficiency, CAFE norms, and released a draft of the 3rd version of these standards. About CAFE norms aim to improve vehicle fuel efficiency by reducing CO2 emissions, thereby lowering oil dependency and controlling pollution. Applicability: applies to petrol, diesel, LPG, CNG, hybrid, and electric passenger vehicles with a gross weight under 3,500 kilograms. Launch in India. First notified by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BE, in 2017 under the Energy Conservation Act, 2001. Implementation: introduced in 2 phases. Stage I, 2017 to 18 to 2022 CO2 limit of 130 g/km. Stage 2, 2022 to 23 onwards CO2 limit of 113 g/k. Key difference from BS6. CAFE focuses on CO2 emissions, whereas BS6 regulates overall emissions, including NOx, nitrogen oxides, and SOx, sulfur oxides. About Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BE, establishment, set up in 2002 under the Energy Conservation Act, 2001. Objective: to lower the energy intensity of the Indian economy. Functions and duties: coordinates with designated consumers, agencies, and other organizations. Identifies, recognizes, and leverages existing resources and infrastructure to carry out its responsibilities under the Energy Conservation Act. Sustainable Aviation Fuel, SAF. News: India's largest refiner and fuel retailer, Indian Oil Corporation, IOC, plans to begin commercial-scale production of sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, at its Panipat refinery by December. About sustainable aviation fuel, SAF. Aviation biofuel, sustainable feedstocks SAF, also called is produced from and has a chemical composition similar to conventional aviation turbine fuel, ATF, or jet fuel. which is derived from crude oil. Experts in the aviation and energy sectors suggest that SAF alone could contribute to over 60% of the global aviation industry's decarbonization efforts. Key features. SAF is a drop-in fuel, meaning it can be blended with conventional ATF without requiring any modifications to aircraft engines or fueling systems. SAF can be produced from a variety of materials, including oils and fats, used cooking oil, UCO, oil-rich seeds, algae oils, animal fats. Municipal solid waste, MSW, agricultural and forestry residues, wood waste, sugarcane bagasse, corn stover, husks, straw, sugars, and starches. Benefits of SAF. Emission reduction. SAF can significantly cut greenhouse gas, GHG, emissions, potentially by up to 80% compared to conventional jet fuel. Compatibility. It can be used with the existing global aircraft fleet without any modifications to planes, engines, or fueling infrastructure, making adoption easier and cost-effective. Ethanol blending. News. The Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas announced that India has achieved 20% ethanol blending in petrol. This milestone was reached under the Ethanol Blended Petrol (EBP) program. About ethanol. Ethanol, C2H5OH, is a renewable fuel known as anhydrous ethyl alcohol. It is produced from sugarcane, maize, wheat, and other high-starch crops. Ethanol can be made naturally through the fermentation of sugars by yeasts or industrially via petrochemical processes like ethylene hydration. Types of ethanol. First generation, from food crops like cereals, rice, wheat, barley, corn, sorghum, sugarcane, sugar beet. Second generation, 2G, from lignocellulosic/woody biomass or agricultural residues such as wheat straw, corn stover, and wood. Third generation, derived from aquatic biomass like algae. Fourth generation, produced using engineered plants and microorganisms for higher efficiency. Ethanol Blended Petrol (EBP) program, launched 2003 to encourage blending ethanol with petrol. About ethanol blending, mixing ethanol with petrol to produce a cleaner and more sustainable fuel. Blending types: E10, 10% ethanol E20, 20% ethanol E85, 85% ethanol. Benefits of E20: better acceleration, smoother ride, and around 30% lower carbon emissions than E10. Policy and targets. National Policy on Biofuels, 2018, amended 2022. Advance the target of 20% ethanol blending in petrol to 2025 to 26, earlier 2030. Encourages use of sugarcane juice, sugar beet, cassava, damaged, or surplus food grains and rotten potatoes for ethanol production. Achievement. Ethanol production has increased from 38 crore liters in 2014 to over 660 crore liters in 2025. To the point. Reports in News Sustainable Development Goals Report, SDGR, 2025. Context. The SDGR is the only UN official report tracking global progress on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Key highlights. Goal 1, no poverty. 8.9% of the global population still lives in extreme poverty. Goal 2, zero hunger. In 2023, nearly 1 in 11 people faced hunger. Goal 4, quality education. Since 2015, 110 million more children and youth enrolled in school. However, 272 million remained out of school in 2023. Goal 5, gender equality. Women hold less than 1/3 of managerial positions worldwide. Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Global unemployment fell to 5% in 2024, but around 58% of workers remain in informal employment. Goal 10, reduced inequalities. In 2024, 57% of working-age people were employed, affecting 3.6 billion workers and their families. Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. About 3 billion people struggle with housing. 1.12 billion live in slums or informal settlements. Goal 13, climate action. 2024 recorded the hottest year globally, 1.55 degrees C above pre-industrial levels. Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Nearly 50,000 deaths due to conflict and 123.2 million people forcibly displaced in 2024. National Indicator Framework, NIF, Progress Report 2025. Context. The National Indicator Framework, NGF, by MOSBI tracks India's progress on the SDGs at the national level. Key progress highlights. SDG 2, zero hunger. Agricultural productivity improved. Income per worker rose from 61,247 Indian rupees, 2015 to 16, to 94,110 Indian rupees, 2024 to 25. SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. Rural access to safe drinking water increased from 94.57%, 2015 to 16, to 99.62%, 2024 to 25. SDG 7, clean energy. Share of renewable energy in total electricity generation rose from 16.02%, 2015 to 16, to 22.13%, 2024 to 25. Renewable energy generation capacity increased from 64.04 to 156.31 watts per capita, 2014 to 15 to 2024 to 25. SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Social protection coverage expanded from 22%, 2016, to 64.3%, 2025. SDG 9, industry and innovation. Emission intensity of GDP reduced by 36% from 2005 to 2020, indicating greener growth. SDG 10, reduced inequality. Gini coefficient of household expenditure decreased from 0.283 to 0.237 in rural areas and from 0.363 to 0.284 in urban areas, 2011 to 12 to 2023 to 24. SDG 12, responsible consumption. Percentage of waste processed rose from 17.97% 2015 to 16 to 80.7% 2024 to 25. SDG 15, life on land. Forest cover increased from 21.34% 2015 to 21.76% 2023. Term/initiatives in news sea flood system. Context: Sea-Flood will serve as a single system that combines flood models from national and regional agencies to help disaster management authorities make better decisions. About Sea-Flood system, it is a web-based platform that provides flood inundation forecasts up to 2 days in advance, covering even the village level. How it works: utilizes advanced 2D hydrodynamic modeling to simulate flood situations and generate inundation maps along with water level predictions to support disaster preparedness. Institutions involved: Center for Development of Advanced Computing, CDAC, Pune Central Water Commission, CWC, nodal body for flood forecasting and early warnings. Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, Ministry of Jal Shakti. National Remote Sensing Center, NRSC, provided collaborative support. District Flood Severity. Context: The District Flood Severity Index, DFSI, has been developed by researchers from IIT Delhi and IIT Gandhinagar. About District Flood Severity Index, DFSI, it is to provide a comprehensive, data-driven tool to assess the impact of floods at the district level across India. DFSI utilizes annual flood data from the Indian Meteorological Department, IMD, collected since 1967, which primarily covers large-scale riverine floods. It supports India's global commitments under the Sendai Framework, 2015 to 2030, and SDG 13, Climate Action. Parameters considered: average duration of flood events, days. Percentage of area historically prone to floods. Casualties. Number of deaths and injuries. District population. Key findings: most severe districts. Patna, 19.37, ranks highest, followed by Murshidabad, West Bengal, 19.01, and Thane, Maharashtra, 18.88. Flood frequency. Tiruvananthapuram, Kerala, over 231 flood events, 4 per year, but low DFSI due to fewer deaths. Assam, over 800 events in 56 years, 14 annually. Districts like Dhemaji, Kamrup, and Nagaon among the worst affected. Matri Van Initiative. Context: The Matri Van Initiative has been launched in Gurugram to create a 750-acre urban forest in the Aravalli Hills. About Matri Van Initiative objectives: promote ecological conservation, restore biodiversity, and encourage community participation for urban sustainability. It is part of the Ekped Ma Kunam initiative. Ecological restoration measures: removal of invasive species, plantation of native tree species, restoration of Aravalli-specific flora and fauna. Adalin Hydroelectric Project. Context: The Arunachal Pradesh government recently allocated 269.97 rupees crore for the construction of the Adalin Hydroelectric Project. About Adalin Hydroelectric Project, it is a 3,097 megawatts hydropower project planned in Dibang Valley, Arunachal Pradesh. The project involves constructing concrete gravity dams on the DRI and Tangan rivers, both of which are tributaries of the Dibang River. Swachh Vayu Sarvekshan 2025. Context: The award honors the best performing cities in Swachh Vayu Sarvekshan 2025, held across 130 cities under the National Clean Air Program, NCP. About Swachh Vayu Sarvekshan 2025 award categories: population-based. Category 1, greater than 10 lakh Indore, 1st. Jabalpur, 2nd. Agra and Surat, 3rd. Category 2, 3 to 10 lakh Amravati, 1st. Jhansi and Moradabad, 2nd. Alwar, 3rd. Species in News: Asian giant tortoise. Species in News: Asian giant tortoise. Category 3, love, Lakduas, 1st. Purvanu, 2nd. Ungol, 3rd. Coverage: 11 cities awarded out of 130 NCP cities. Ranking parameters: biomass and solid waste burning, road/construction dust, vehicular and industrial emissions, IEC activities, improvement in PM10 concentrations, etc. National Clean Air Program (NCAP), launched by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, 2019. Coverage: 131 cities, non-attainment plus million plus cities, across 24 states/UTs. Target: reduce PM10 levels by up to 40%, or meet NAAQS 60 MUG/M superscript 3 by 2025 to 26 from 2019 to 20 levels. Implementing body: Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB. Context: Asian giant tortoise has been successfully reintroduced into the Ziliang Community Reserve located in Nagaland's Paran district. About Asian giant tortoise. Largest tortoise in mainland Asia. Adults grow up to 60 centimeters in length and 37 kilograms in weight, one of the most primitive tortoises. Distribution: found in India, Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Sumatra, Borneo. Habitat: tropical and subtropical mountainous evergreen forests, bamboo forests, swampy edges. Altitude 600 to 1,500 m. Ecological role: seed dispersal for plant growth, soil aeration through digging, vegetation control by grazing. Nesting behavior: female builds above-ground nest from leaves and guards eggs for 3 to 20 days. Rare maternal care among tortoises. Conservation status: critically endangered, IUCN, listed in Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act, 1972. Nilgirai Thar. Context: a joint census across Kerala and Tamil Nadu recorded 2,668 Nilgiri tars, with 1,365 in Kerala and 1,303 in Tamil Nadu. About Nilgiri thar, it is a mountain ungulate endemic to the southern Western Ghats. It is also referred to as the Nilgiri ibex or simply ibex, while locally it is known as variadu. It is the only mountain ungulate found in southern India. Habitat and distribution: geographical range, found along a 400 km stretch of the Western Ghats, mainly in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Key locations: Araviculam National Park, Kerala hosts the highest density and largest surviving population. Other habitats include Silent Valley, Annamalai, and Nilgiri Hills. Conservation status: IUCN Red List, Endangered. Wildlife Protection Act, 1972, listed under Schedule 1 Karai camel. Context: recently, a herd of 33 rare Karai camels was rescued after being trapped in a rising sea tide near Vadner Jetty along the Jamnagar coast of Gujarat. About Karai camel distinctive adaptation: native to the Kutch region of Gujarat, the Karai camel is a unique breed capable of swimming and surviving in coastal and marshy habitats. Feeding behavior: unlike other camels adapted to desert ecosystems, Karai camels feed on saline mangrove vegetation and can swim 3 to 5 kilometers in seawater to reach isolated grazing islands. Community link: the breed is traditionally reared by the Rabari pastoralist community of Kutch. Economic importance: the milk and wool of Karai camels provide a source of livelihood for the Rabari, supporting their sustenance and traditional handicraft practices. Asian palm civet. Context: recently, proceedings in Chamber 1 of the Kerala High Court were disrupted due to a strong foul smell caused by an Asian palm civet. About Asian palm civet common names: Asian palm civet, toddy cat, common palm civet distribution. Found across South and Southeast Asia, including India, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Physical features: long, slender body with short legs and pointed snout. Fur: brownish-gray with black spots, white mask-like marking around eyes. Behavior: nocturnal, excellent climber, strong sense of smell, omnivorous, eats insects, small mammals, fruits. Can digest coffee beans, contributing to civet coffee production. Conservation status: classified as least concern by IUCN Slitai shark. Context: the Slitai shark has been recorded for the first time in the Great Chagos Bank, the world's largest coral atoll located in the Indian Ocean. About Slitai shark physical characteristics: it can grow up to 95 centimeters in length, with a slender body and long, narrow snout. Its distinctive slit-like eyes with vertical pupils enhance vision in low-light marine environments. Habitat and distribution: found mainly in inshore waters of the Indo-West Pacific region, including the coasts of India, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and Australia. Conservation status: listed as near threatened on the IUCN Red List. Protected areas in New Srivilapattur, Meghamalai Tiger Reserve, SMTR. Location: southern Western Ghats, spanning Virudhunagar and Madurai districts, Tamil Nadu. Status: 5th Tiger Reserve of Tamil Nadu. 51st Tiger Reserve of India. Formation: established in February 2021 by combining Grizzled Squirrel Wildlife Sanctuary, Meghamalai Wildlife Sanctuary. Corridor linkage: forms part of an important wildlife corridor connecting Periyar Tiger Reserve, Kerala, with Kudmundantharai Tiger Reserve, Tamil Nadu. Rivers: fed by 3 perennial rivers, Baigai, Siraliyaru, and Shamaganathi. Vegetation: tropical evergreen forests, semi-evergreen forests, moist and dry deciduous forests, and grasslands. Fauna: flagship species: tiger, elephant, leopard, Nilgiri tar. Others: gar, spotted deer, sambar, barking deer, wild boar, porcupine, Nilgiri langur, lion-tailed macaque, etc. Papikonda National Park. Location: East Godavari and West Godavari districts, Andhra Pradesh. Geography: lies along Godavari River. Rugged terrain with steep slopes, hills, and deep valleys, part of Eastern Ghats. Mountains: 62 named peaks. Devarakonda is the highest, Varalakonda is the most prominent. Biodiversity importance: recognized as an important bird and biodiversity area, IBA, by BirdLife International. Unique fauna: dwarf goat breed Kenchu Mecca is native to this region. Vegetation: tropical moist deciduous forests with patches of semi-evergreen and dry deciduous forests. Flora: teak, rosewood, sandalwood, bamboo, eucalyptus, sal, mahua, pterocarpus, terminalia, cassia. Fauna: Bengal tiger, Indian leopard, sloth bear, dhole, Indian wild dog. Deer species including sambar and spotted deer. Bukkapatnachinkara Wildlife Sanctuary. Location: Tumkuru District, Karnataka. Established 2019, specifically for the protection of the Indian gazelle, Chinkara. Significance: second Chinkara sanctuary in Karnataka after Yadahalli in Bagalkot, 2016. Vegetation: wooded savannas with grasses and scattered native trees. Flora includes Hardwickia binatha Anjan, Philanthus emblica, Amla, Boswellia serrata, Shalaki, Tamarindus indica, Imli, Pterocarpus marsupium, Bijaka, Anogesis latifolia, Thura, Shoria tellura, Terminalia tomentosa. Fauna: besides chinkaras, the sanctuary hosts 4-horned antelopes, blackbucks, sloth bears, leopards, and other wildlife species. Amrabad tiger location: Nalamala Hills, Eastern Ghats. Reserve:
Telangana.
In terms of core area, it is the second largest tiger reserve in India history, part of Nagarjunasagar Srisailam Tiger Reserve before Telangana Andhra Pradesh bifurcation, 2014. Terrain: rugged hills, deep valleys, dense dry deciduous forests. Historic site: Nagalapuram Fort within the reserve. Water resources: Krishna River and its perennial streams originating within the reserve feed major reservoirs like Srisailam and Nagarjunasagar. Tribal community: Chinchu tribe. Flora: dry deciduous forest, sal, teak, bamboo, acacia, rich in medicinal plants. Fauna: tigers, leopards, wild cats, herbivores, sambar, cheetal, nilgai, wild boar, Indian bison, over 303 bird species including eagles, pigeons, doves, cuckoos, woodpeckers, drongos. Cold Desert Biosphere Reserve. Location: Trans-Himalayan region, Lahaul Spiti district, Himachal Pradesh declared Biosphere Reserve in 2009. Terrain: windswept plateaus, glacial valleys, alpine lakes, rugged high-altitude desert. Significance: India's first high-altitude cold desert biosphere reserve. Among the coldest and driest ecosystems in UNESCO's World Network of Biosphere Reserves, WNBR, UNESCO recognition. With this addition, India has 13 biosphere reserves in the World Network of Biosphere Reserves protected areas covered. It covers the Pin Valley National Park and its surroundings, Chandratal and Sarchu and Kibir Wildlife Sanctuary. Flora. Species: 732 vascular plant species, including 30 endemics and 157 near-endemics of the Indian Himalayas. Vegetation: alpine grasses, medicinal herbs, willow-leaved sea buckthorn, Himalayan birch, Persian juniper. Fauna: mammals: leopard, Himalayan ibex, blue sheep, Himalayan wolf birds, Himalayan snowcock, golden eagle.